Hello, beautiful people. Future me. Welcome to another programming workout of mine, and we will start with the typing, as always, and then we will proceed to a Spring tutorial, as most of the days lately. Okay, so let's get into it. I will complete this. Alright. That felt pretty bad, so I'm curious. 8%. It is what it is. So, we will have a look into my notes. Stop the typing timer, start the spring timer. It is this project, so I'll open it. And we were here, so I can have a look. And it is about bean annotations. What is happening with my IntelliJ, huh? It's here already. Oh, cool. Very cool, nice. Okay, so I see I have created the beans, configuration file, main app, and that's it, I think. So I will create two beans now. One will be inserted and the other will be outrun. So I will do that class, and this will be the top bean, for example, and it will have a inner bean, a private inner bean, inner bean. Yeah, and we don't have that, so I will create it, and I want the Java class. This will be inner bean, and here I will just override the toString. Oh, come on. Override toString, and I want, well, the right thing was to move one word here. Well, we can do that, but it will not be that. This will be inner bean toString, and that is what it will print out when the toString will be invoked. Alright, what is next? Next is to finish the all top bean, so I can do that, and I will generate the constructors first with the default one. Then I will create the one with this guy and getters and setters for the inner bean. Yeah, so I have that. Now, next thing to do is to read the tutorial. Okay, so far you have seen how we configure Spring Beans using XML configuration file. If you are comfortable with XML configuration, then it is really not required to learn how to proceed with Java-based configuration, as you are going to achieve the same result using either of the configurations available. Well, this must be really old because lots of projects now don't use the XML to configure anything. And this is the most trendy thing which we are using. So, Java-based configuration option enables you to write most of your Spring application without XML, but with the help of few Java-based annotations explained in this chapter. So add configuration and add bean annotations. Annotating a class with configuration, add configuration indicates that the class can be used by the Spring inversion of control container as a source of bean definitions. The add bean annotation tells Spring that a method annotated with a bean will return an object that should be registered as a bean in the Spring application context. The simplest possible add configuration class would be as follows. So, okay, so this is it, and that will be the equivalent to, here is the hello world ID. That's this guy, right? And tutorials. Okay, so I'll create that. I will create a configuration. Java class. This will be configuration. And here we will. What was the? It was the public void main, right? No, not at all. There's a public class configuration, and then we will have a getter. It will return that. Okay, so this will be configuration. Here we go. Interesting. Can I somehow import it here? Why did it do this? Why cannot I import it, huh? What the hell? Okay, I'll leave it for now. And here we will have a, that was private, this was public. Public public, and it will be top bean. What will you return? Top bean. Take no. And what's the problem? Yeah, thank you. Public top bean. Here we go. And now we will return new top bean like so. And this will have an annotation. Oh, come on. And it will say bean. This one is imported. It's weird why this wasn't. I would expect to be able to import it. So create test, adjust all settings. None of those. None of those. It's outside the class definition, so I don't know what's wrong. Well, anyway, I have that, but then maybe in the main app, okay, so this will probably not be here because I will not create it using the beans XML. We don't use the XML at all. So I will delete you. And it is in comms tutorial point. Okay, so that is the equivalent of this. Here the method name is annotated with @bean, works as a bean ID, and it creates and returns the actual bean. Your configuration class can have declaration for more than one @bean. Once your configuration classes are defined, you can load and provide them to Spring Container using annotation config application context. Like this, okay. New application. What was it? Application config, annotation config. Config application context, and we will put in the not hello world but configuration.class like so. I'll extract it to a variable, and that will be just application context, and we'll import it. Yes. Also, I don't like the name. It will be just application context like so. And then maybe I can do application context dot get bean, and it will be top bean with a small t, and this guy, come on, this guy will be the bean. Yeah, but I will convert it, I will cast it to top bean object, and this one will be top bean as well. Yeah, and now what I want to do is to go to the top bean, and inside of here I will say just the bean like so, and So I will do something similar. Like so. Boom, boom. And we can have the set as well. Ah. Print that out as well. Okay, so now if I go to main application, I suppose this will just create the instance of the top bean. So let's try it. I'll run it. And it does good. Now, how can I put in the inner bean? Or define. Okay, so I would expect that in configuration I will create another thing which will be bean as well. It will be public, it will return inner bean, yeah. Inner bean until return new inner bean, like so. And let's know if I run it again, that will not change anything. It should work the same way. Yeah, okay. So now, how can I put in the top bean, the inner bean? Maybe that will tell us. Okay, so hello world side get message, sure, it will work. You can load various configuration classes as follows. Annotation config application context. Okay, so here it was the application context. One is application context and the other one is annotation config application context. What is the difference between those two? Well, this is various configuration classes, so I just create it without nothing and then I'm adding some things in it. Interesting. Okay. Okay, and then we have some example. So create a project, I did. Add required, I did. Because you are using Java-based annotation, you also need to add from your Java installation directory and ASR jar rex. I guess that is handled because I was able to run it. Like, I included all the libraries from Spring. Hello world config, hello world and main app. So this is what I did. I did something that in main. That's exactly what I did. Okay, injecting bean dependencies. So this is something which I'm interested in. when beans have dependencies on one another. Expressing that, the dependency is as simple as having one bean method calling another as follows. So here is the easy thing. Here the foo bean receives a reference to bar via the constructor injection. Oh, so here we have the constructor. So otherwise I have to... Okay, so we'll start with the constructor, why not? So we'll do that. And here we will say inner bean, like so. And if I run the application again, here it will show the top bean with the input parameter. Oh yeah, so that worked. And even if I go to the main at the Java, I can now say top bean dot get inner bean. And if I run it now, I will get the toString invocation on the inner bean. There we go. Okay, so I have that. It works. And here's another example. Let us just work in blah blah blah. And this is the setup. We have that. And this is the... This looks like the same thing. They are using the constructor here. Here is the text editor with the constructor. And the inside of that guy, the inner thing, and here's the main thing. Imports, you're creating application context. And then this is interesting. What is this? Why is passed in this guy? Editor class. That is a... Oh, get bean. Yeah, that's the thing. Now we are not doing... yeah, so this is the context. I did use the name of it, the ID, but actually you can use the class as well. It seems to be the case, and that's what they are doing everywhere. I just missed it. Okay, so I will try that and the main app, and they were doing what? Some import. So it was this thing over here. So if I delete this, and I have here, so it is a string, it can be a class. So let's say I will say top bean dot class, and this should work exactly the same way. Okay, so that works. Once you have done creating all sources, yeah, this is the output. Now the next topic is add import annotation. Okay, so the add import annotation allows for loading add bean definitions from another configuration class. Consider a config class as follows. So here we have a configuration, config A, and a bean, and we have a public A, and it returns A. Okay. You can import above bean declared in another bean declaration as follows. And that is, I see, so we have the add configuration, then I have add import config A class. So that imports the entire configuration. I don't see where it is used, so why would I do that? Now, rather than needing to specify both config A class and config B class when instantiating the context, only config B needs to be supplied as follows. I see. Oh, okay. And this seems to be the thing I will be doing next time, so I will take this here. We'll go to my notes, which are here, and here the import annotation. And we are still on the same page, right? Spring best, yep. Alright. So I know this is Spring example 6, is it? Da 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 da. Come on. Da 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 da. Okay, so be it. Okay, this means we are done. Done is better than perfect, and I will see you next time. Bye.